Men notice what you do right after intimacy more than the act itself. It may sound surprising at first because so much focus in relationships, conversations, and advice is on the act itself. Whether it was good, whether it was passionate, whether it lived up to expectations. But here's the truth that often gets overlooked. For a man, what lingers in his mind is not always the physical part, it's the aftermath. That space right after the moment has passed is where his eyes, his mind, and his heart are watching more closely than you think. Because intimacy is easy to give, but what happens afterward reveals more about who you are, what you value, and what kind of presence you bring into his life. Think about it. Intimacy itself can be physical, it can be fleeting, and it can happen without much thought. But right after, that's where authenticity shows up. A man pays attention to whether you're at ease with yourself or whether you're clinging for approval. He notices whether you handle that moment with confidence, grace, and self-assurance, or whether you suddenly lose yourself in fear of how he might perceive you. The act is physical, but the after is emotional and psychological. And men, whether they admit it or not, read into that moment. When you carry yourself with calmness and composure afterward, it speaks volumes. It tells him you were whole before the moment and you remain whole after it. That steadiness is magnetic because it separates you from the women who look to the moment for identity or reassurance. A man might enjoy the act with anyone, but he obsesses over the woman who can stand strong in the silence that follows. She doesn't need to perform. She doesn't need to over-explain. She doesn't need to fill the space with nervous chatter. She rests in herself, and that tells him she's secure. And security in a woman is something men don't forget. It's not about perfection. It's not about playing games. It's about being grounded enough that the moment doesn't shake your confidence. Men often expect women to use intimacy as a way to latch on emotionally, and when you don't, when you show you're steady, he notices. It leaves him curious, it makes him question, it keeps you on his mind long after the night is over. Some women make the mistake of thinking that intimacy itself is the hook, that if it's passionate enough, if it's exciting enough, if it's unforgettable enough, the man will stay. But the truth is, intimacy is not what makes a man stay. It's not what makes him obsess. It's not what makes him invest. What makes him hold on is what you communicate in the quiet minutes afterward. Your energy tells him whether he just shared a physical experience or whether he's dealing with someone who carries herself like a queen even in vulnerable moments. When a man sees you handle those moments with self-respect, it changes how he sees you. You are no longer just the woman he was with. You become the woman he can't stop thinking about. And it's not because of the physicality. It's because of the impression you left when the physical part was done. Men are visual creatures, yes, but they're also highly observant when it comes to behavior. The way you carry yourself afterward paints a picture in his mind, a picture that either says you're rare or you're ordinary. It doesn't mean you have to be cold or distant. It doesn't mean you play hard to get. It means you know your worth so deeply that the moment doesn't define you. When you can rest in your value without scrambling for his reaction, you give off an energy that's impossible to ignore. That's the part men notice. That's the part that lingers. That's the part that makes them rethink how they approach you, how they treat you, how they prioritize you. The act itself can be replicated with anyone, but the aftermath, that can't be duplicated. That's the space where you separate yourself from every other woman he's encountered. That's the space where you show that you're not dependent, you're not desperate, you're not needy. You are steady, composed, and confident in yourself. That moment may feel small, but in a man's mind it's everything. ChatGPT said, "Confidence in silence speaks louder than seeking validation." When the room goes quiet after the heat of the moment, when there are no more words, no more movements, no distractions, those are the times when who you are truly shows. Silence is powerful, and in that silence, a man studies you more than you realize. It is not in the constant words, the need for reassurance, or the flood of questions that he forms his impression. It's in how you sit with yourself when nothing is being said. If you can handle that silence with calm, with poise, with confidence, you've already said more than any words could. Many people don't understand this. They think silence is awkward, something that has to be filled. They believe they have to talk, to laugh, to ask, to reach for some kind of confirmation that everything is okay. But confidence doesn't need confirmation. A confident woman doesn't need to seek validation in those moments because she already knows her worth, she already knows who she is, and she doesn't fear silence. And that lack of fear speaks louder than 1,000 reassurances. A man will notice if you can sit in silence and still carry yourself like you belong, like you're secure, like you don't need to be affirmed every second. It tells him you're strong, that you're not dependent on his reaction to feel valuable. It sends a message that you have your own foundation, your own inner strength, and that is magnetic. Confidence in silence says, I know I'm enough whether you acknowledge it or not. That makes him pay attention because it's rare. Seeking validation, on the other hand, gives off the opposite energy. The moment you start asking, are you okay? Did you enjoy it? Are we good? You've already put yourself in a place of need. That neediness makes a man feel like he's in control, like your sense of self depends on his words. And while he may answer politely, while he may reassure you in that moment, deep down, he knows you've placed your value in his hands. That doesn't make him obsessed. It doesn't make him admire you. It makes him comfortable. And comfort doesn't lead to pursuit. It leads to complacency. The most powerful women are the ones who don't need to ask. They can smile, breathe, and let the silence exist without scrambling to fill it. That silence becomes their statement. It shows self-respect. It shows maturity. It shows strength. Men remember that. They replay that in their minds because silence leaves space for mystery, and mystery is what pulls a man closer. Think about the difference between a woman who fills every second with chatter and a woman who can simply be present. The first makes him feel like he has to manage her emotions, like he's responsible for keeping her steady. The second makes him feel intrigued, curious, and even a little off balance because he can't read her completely. He wants to figure her out. He wants to know more. He wants to break through that calm surface. That's how obsession begins, not through validation, but through the unspoken confidence that comes from silence. Confidence in silence also communicates self-control. It says you're not desperate for attention, you're not in a rush to define what just happened, and you're not afraid of his thoughts. That kind of composure is rare, especially in intimate settings, and when a man sees it, he can't help but respect it. Respect is the foundation of pursuit, and pursuit is the foundation of lasting connection. It's not about shutting down or ignoring him. It's about letting the silence exist without needing to turn it into a performance. It's about trusting that your presence is already enough without adding words to prove it. The way you breathe, the way you carry yourself, the way you simply exist in that moment says everything. Silence becomes your language, and confidence becomes your tone. Men often test without even realizing it. They watch how you respond when things slow down, when there's no action, no excitement. They notice if you're uneasy, if you panic, if you rush to fill the void. But when they see you grounded, unshaken, peaceful, that strikes them in a way they can't ignore. It's not the noise they remember, it's the quiet strength you carried. Confidence in silence shows him that you're not looking to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. And when a woman chooses herself, when she radiates that she is whole with or without him, that's when a man becomes drawn in deeper. That's when he starts thinking about her long after she's gone. That's when silence becomes louder than words could ever be. Independence after closeness makes a man question and chase. When the most vulnerable moment has already been shared, when the walls have come down and the intimacy has happened, What you do immediately afterward defines the story that gets written in his mind. Most people think that the act itself is the peak, that it's the part a man is going to remember and hold on to. But the truth is, a man will remember what happens after more than the moment itself, because that is where he discovers who you really are. Closeness can be shared with anyone, but independence in the aftermath is rare, and rarity is what makes a man's mind race. When you don't cling, when you don't beg for more time, when you don't instantly hand over your emotions on a silver platter, you flip the script. Independence in that space tells him, I am a whole person before you and I will remain a whole person after you. That energy forces him to pause. It forces him to evaluate. He starts to question, wait a minute, did she really not need me in that moment? Is she really that complete without me? What does that mean about who she is? And those questions spark the chase because men are not wired to simply accept what they can't fully understand. They want to pursue it, they want to own it, they want to secure it. Too often, women believe the closeness means they need to stay entangled, that they need to extend the moment so he knows they care. But in reality, the power lies in showing that you can step back with confidence. You can share intimacy without losing yourself. You can connect deeply without becoming dependent. That's the difference between attachment and attraction. Attachment says, I need you to validate me after this. But attraction says, I enjoyed this, I valued it, but I am still me, whole and secure. That's the kind of presence that makes a man chase. Think about how most men are used to being treated after closeness. They expect questions, they expect clinging, they expect that a woman will wrap herself around them as if her identity depends on his response. So when you break that pattern, when you show him independence instead, it jolts him. It interrupts his expectations and leaves him thinking about you in a way he didn't expect to. He may even question his own place with you, and when a man starts questioning, that's when his pursuit begins. Independence doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean pushing him away or pretending like the moment didn't matter. It means knowing your value enough to not attach your worth to his reaction. It means being able to get up, gather yourself, and carry on with grace, even in the most vulnerable moments. That quiet strength doesn't make a man feel unwanted. It makes him feel like he's dealing with someone different, someone valuable, someone he can't quite figure out. And the moment he can't figure you out, he starts chasing. See, men are hunters by nature, but you can't be hunted if you hand yourself over completely after closeness. When you show independence, you give him something to reach for. You create space for him to wonder, to reflect, to think about how he can earn more of you, and that chase is not just about ego, it's about value. Men chase what they value, they chase what they can't easily secure, they chase what doesn't need them but chooses them. A man will obsess over the woman who doesn't crumble after intimacy. He'll think about the way she smiled, the way she carried herself, the way she left without needing his constant approval. That memory lingers longer than the act itself because it speaks to strength, and strength is unforgettable. Independence creates contrast, and contrast creates curiosity. He might have been with other women before, but if you show him independence after closeness, you immediately stand out. That uniqueness is what his mind replays over and over. When you show independence, you also set the tone for how he treats you. You let him know you're not someone who will cling out of fear. You're not someone who will compromise your identity for his comfort. You're a partner, not a possession. That kind of standard makes him step up. It makes him evaluate how to pursue you in a way that matches your worth. Without even saying a word, your independence commands a different level of respect. The beauty of independence after closeness is that it keeps the balance. Intimacy brings vulnerability, but independence afterward restores equilibrium. It shows him you can open up without losing yourself. It proves that you can be close without being consumed, and that balance is what men rarely see but always chase. ChatGPT said, "Softness balanced with self-respect creates obsession." A lot of people think it has to be one or the other, that you either have to be nurturing, sweet, and affectionate, or you have to be strong, tough, and unshakable. But the real power, the thing that makes a man's mind spin long after you've left, is when you can hold both at the same time. Softness alone might make him comfortable, but it won't make him chase. Self-respect alone might make him admire you, but it can leave him feeling like you're untouchable. When you put them together, when you show that you can be warm and loving without ever compromising your dignity, that's when you become unforgettable. Softness is what draws him in. It's in the way you laugh, the way you touch, the way you let him feel cared for and wanted. Men crave softness because the world rarely gives it to them. Life is hard, work is demanding, expectations are heavy, and when a man finds a woman who can bring peace into his chaos, he notices. But here's the key. Softness without boundaries often gets taken for granted. If you're soft in a way that allows him to walk all over you, he'll enjoy it, but he won't respect it. Respect is the ingredient that turns attraction into obsession. That's where self-respect comes in. Self-respect is what tells him there's a line he cannot cross, that no matter how much he enjoys your softness, you're not going to sacrifice your worth just to please him. It's the quiet strength in the way you carry yourself, the way you don't settle for crumbs, the way you make it clear that love and respect go hand in hand. That balance sends a message. I can love you, I can care for you, I can bring softness into your life, but I will never lose myself in the process. That message is magnetic because it's rare. Men don't obsess over what's easy. They don't lose sleep over what's predictable. They become captivated when they can't quite put you in a box, when they see layers in you that most people don't carry. A woman who can nurture him and still check him, who can love him deeply and still demand to be loved properly, who can bring comfort and still command respect. That's the woman he thinks about long after the night is over. It's the balance that matters. Too much softness without boundaries makes you seem dependent. Too much toughness without softness makes you seem unreachable. But the balance makes you human, real, desirable, and strong. That balance creates a sense of mystery because he knows you're capable of both extremes, but you choose when to show them. You choose when to lean into your softness, and you choose when to stand firm in your self-respect. That control is what makes him feel like he can't predict you, can't fully figure you out, and that keeps his mind locked on you. Men are used to women who give either one or the other. They know what it's like to have someone soft who melts for them, and they know what it's like to have someone strong who doesn't budge. But when you bring both, you raise the bar. You show him something he hasn't seen before. He doesn't just enjoy your presence, he craves it because it's not something he can replace easily. And when a man feels something is irreplaceable, that's when obsession begins. Think about how powerful it is to be both soft enough to bring peace and strong enough to walk away if you're not respected. That combination makes him step up his game because he knows he can't slack off with you. He knows he can't take advantage of your softness because you're self-respect won't allow it. And he knows he can't outmaneuver your strength because your softness won't let you become bitter. He's dealing with a woman who's not just one-dimensional, and that realization makes him value you more. Self-respect doesn't have to be loud. You don't have to declare it with speeches or arguments. It shows up in the little things. In the way you set boundaries, in the way you say no without fear, in the way you carry yourself with dignity even in intimate moments. Softness doesn't have to be weakness. It's in the way you smile, the way you show kindness, the way you let your feminine energy shine. When both coexist, you create a dynamic he can't stop thinking about. The obsession comes from the fact that he knows he's experiencing something unique. He's not just with a woman who makes him feel good in the moment. He's with a woman who challenges him to be better, who demands respect without losing her tenderness. That's the kind of woman men talk about when they say she's different, And different is what makes him chase, different is what makes him come back, different is what keeps you in his mind long after the moment has passed, showing you're complete with or without him makes you unforgettable. There is nothing more powerful, nothing more magnetic, and nothing more unforgettable to a man than a woman who makes it clear, without arrogance, without hostility, and without games, that her identity, her happiness, and her worth do not revolve around him. Men are fascinated by women who can share themselves deeply yet never lose themselves in the process. That completeness is what separates you from everyone else, because it sends the message that your life is whole, your world is full, and your value is intact regardless of who stands beside you. When a woman is complete within herself, she doesn't come to a relationship to be fixed. She comes to it to be enhanced. She doesn't look to a man to give her identity. She already knows who she is. She doesn't beg for attention or validation because her sense of worth was never built on someone else's approval in the first place. That kind of presence commands attention. A man might be attracted to someone who needs him, but he becomes obsessed with the one who doesn't. Because deep down, men don't want to be your survival. They want to be your choice. A woman who is complete shows it in the smallest ways. It's in the way she can spend time alone without crumbling. It's in the way she carries her confidence into a room without waiting for compliments to validate her. It's in the way she has passions, goals, and dreams that exist outside of the relationship. When a man sees that, it sparks something in him because he knows you're not leaning on him to fill the emptiness. You already stand tall. That energy makes him step up, makes him evaluate what he has to offer, and makes him pursue you harder. Completeness doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean pushing him away or acting like you don't need anyone. It means knowing your value so deeply that you can love without fear. When you're complete, you can give freely without becoming dependent. You can show care and softness without losing yourself, and that balance makes you unforgettable because it tells him you chose to be with him, not that you needed to be with him. Choice is what makes love powerful. When you know you could be fine without him, but you're still here, that makes him treasure you more. Men notice the difference. They notice the woman who clings to them out of fear, and the woman who stands with them out of strength. One drains their energy, the other elevates it. One makes them feel burdened, the other makes them feel blessed. And the unforgettable woman is the one who shows that her world is already abundant, but she's letting him be part of it. That kind of presence doesn't just get his attention, it keeps it. The irony is that many women believe showing neediness will keep a man closer. They think the more they depend on him, the more he'll feel important. But what really makes a man stay is seeing that you're already whole. Because men crave a partner, not a project. They may enjoy being needed, but they respect being chosen. And respect is what makes obsession last. Showing completeness also creates mystery. He starts to wonder, what is it about her that makes her so secure? How does she stay grounded? How is she so fulfilled even when I'm not around? That curiosity fuels his desire to know you more, to win your attention, to secure his place in your already full life. And that chase is what keeps you unforgettable. You're not just another woman to him. You become the standard he measures others against, because you gave him something deeper than just closeness. You gave him the experience of being with someone who didn't need him but still wanted him. Completeness shines brightest after intimacy, when emotions can be high and vulnerabilities exposed. That's the moment most women slip into seeking reassurance. But when you stand firm, when you carry yourself with grace, when you show that you're still whole regardless of what just happened, it leaves a mark on him. He remembers the way you smiled, the way you carried yourself, the way you didn't cling but still cared. That impression lasts longer than the act itself, because it shows him strength and security in the midst of vulnerability. The truth is, any man can find a woman to share closeness with, but not every man will meet a woman who is complete within herself. That's why when he does, she stays in his mind. He can't replace her because she represents something rare. She's the balance of warmth and independence, love and boundaries, openness and strength. She's the reminder that true connection comes not from needing someone to fill your emptiness, but from choosing someone when you were already full. Intimacy is common. Strength and poise afterward are rare and magnetic. The truth is, anybody can give their body. Anybody can share a moment of closeness, and in the world we live in, intimacy has become something people hand out without much thought. That's why it doesn't hold the weight it once did in people's minds. What truly separates one person from another, what makes someone unforgettable, isn't the act of intimacy. It's how they carry themselves afterward. That aftermath is where character shows, where confidence reveals itself, and where you either blend into the background of his memory or stand out as the one he can't stop thinking about. A man may not remember every detail of the act, but he will always remember how you made him feel once it was over. Did you crumble? Did you cling? Did you beg for attention? Or did you rise with grace, hold your head high, and move with an aura of poise that told him you were secure in who you are? That's the part that stays in his mind, because strength in vulnerable moments is rare. Poise in the aftermath is magnetic, because it's not what he expects. Most men are used to women who lose themselves after intimacy. They expect the questions, are you still into me? Do you love me? What does this mean for us? They expect the nervous chatter, the attempts to hold on tighter, the need for reassurance. And when that happens, they know they have the upper hand. But when you don't give them that, when you show strength instead, it throws them off balance. It makes them sit up and notice. It makes them ask themselves, who is this woman and why does she carry herself like that? That curiosity is what makes them chase. Strength doesn't mean you have to act tough or emotionless. It doesn't mean putting up walls or pretending you don't care. Real strength in that moment means you don't let your vulnerability strip you of your dignity. It means you don't let the intimacy define your worth or dictate your behavior. You can smile, you can laugh, you can show warmth, but underneath it all, there's a steadiness that tells him, I know who I am, and I don't need this moment to prove it. That steadiness is unforgettable because it's rare to find. Poise is the other piece of it. Poise is grace under pressure. It's elegance in a moment where many people feel exposed. It's the way you move, the way you gather yourself, the way you can sit in silence without shrinking. A woman with poise doesn't need to scramble for attention or validation because her presence already speaks volumes. She communicates without words that she is secure, grounded, and whole. That image stays in a man's mind because it represents balance. A balance of vulnerability and power, openness and dignity. When you show strength and poise after intimacy, you shift the power dynamic. Instead of him feeling like he has conquered you, he realizes he has encountered someone he cannot easily define or control. That realization makes him respect you, and respect is what fuels obsession. Anyone can provide intimacy, but very few can pair it with the kind of strength that makes a man feel like he has to work to keep you. Very few can carry themselves with the kind of poise that makes him wonder what's really going on in your mind. That mystery, that balance, is what keeps him hooked. It's not just about how he sees you, it's about how you see yourself. When you know your value, when you understand that intimacy doesn't add to or subtract from your worth, you naturally exude strength. You naturally carry poise. You don't have to perform, you don't have to prove anything, because you're already grounded in who you are. That energy cannot be faked, and when it's genuine, it's magnetic. Men can sense it, and they respond to it differently than they do to neediness. The women who become unforgettable are not the ones who give the most. They are the ones who remain the most whole afterward. They are the ones who can be close but not consumed, open but not emptied. That rare ability to stand tall in the moments where most collapse is what creates lasting impact. Men can meet many women, but when they meet one who carries herself with that kind of strength and poise, she becomes the standard. She becomes the one he compares others to, the one he can't easily replace, the one he keeps coming back to in his mind. Because intimacy is everywhere, it's not what sets you apart. What sets you apart is how you move when the moment is over. Do you hold yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows her value? Do you carry poise that radiates calm and security? Do you show strength that proves you are whole regardless of what just happened? Those are the things that make a man not just attracted to you, but drawn to you, curious about you, and ultimately obsessed with you.